he says you can become enlightened by any one of the techniques that I give you. He says you can become enlightened by means of Hatha Yoga, just doing the asanas. And do you know how you become enlightened in Hatha Yoga? The secret of Hatha Yoga is not to be a beginner and do each posture 3 times for 30 seconds. The secret of Hatha Yoga is to have one posture and stay in it for an hour. And while you're in that posture, meditate. This is the secret that Iyengar gives. And really, if you want to progress in Hatha Yoga, you should do the posture for half an hour. What do they say in Hatha Yoga? It takes 10 minutes for the muscles to relax. It takes another 10 minutes for the tendons to relax. And then it takes another 10 minutes after that for the bones to relax. That's what I was always told when I was being taught Hatha Yoga. In your own personal practice, you should practice being in the poses for a long time.
Now you tell me.
Well, this is what you've come for. You've come here to find out how to be a yoga teacher. And the secret is that you can become enlightened by any one of the paths of yoga. And yoga itself, actually the word means enlightenment. Any practice that can lead you to enlightenment is called yoga. This is the secret. And you can become enlightened by any of those practices. Whether it's Hatha Yoga, whether it's Mudra, whether it's Bandha, whether it's Pranayama, whether it's Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, or simply by listening to Yamas and Niyamas, the things you should do and the things you should not do. You can become enlightened simply by being harmless. This is what Gandhi proved. Simply by being harmless, you can change a nation. So any one of these techniques can make you enlightened. And Swami Satchidananda said, it's easy to become enlightened. You just need to have one technique and stick to it. Do it properly. My yoga teacher said, you can become enlightened in any one of the yoga poses. You just become a master of that particular yoga pose and you can become enlightened. He says the most difficult one to master is called Shavasana. You know which one is Shavasana? It's the relaxation pose. Simply by lying properly in the relaxation pose, you can become enlightened. But the real meaning of Shavasana is dead. Shava means the dead pose. And who is the most famous exponent of the death pose? Ramana Maharshi. He's another one of your set books. He's one of my favourite sages. We visited his ashram many times in India. Dead now. He did the death pose too much. When he was 16 years old, he suddenly thought to himself, I wonder what it's like to be dead. So he lay down on the ground and slowly, he persuaded himself that he was dead. And he went off to meet his eternal soul. He went off and he met the Atman. And at that point, he became enlightened. Just in Shavasana. Just in the relaxation pose, he became enlightened. Just one pose, Hatha Yoga. But was it Hatha Yoga? Because you cannot become enlightened just by Hatha Yoga. The essential nature of enlightenment means that when you are doing Hatha Yoga, you should be doing every other yoga at the same time. Because when you are enlightened, you become a master of all yogas. So although you can become enlightened just by one pose, when you become enlightened, you become a master of all the yogas. Which are the yogas that we teach on our core study? What are we going to go deeply into? We're going to go deeply into Hatha Yoga. And the definition of Hatha Yoga is asana, pranayama, mudra and bandha. But we're also going to go into
Mantra yoga.
mantra yoga. We're also going to go into
Jnani yoga.
Gyana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, the yoga of mantra, seed sounds, leading you to enlightenment. We're also going to go into Bhakti yoga, the yoga of love and devotion. Have you ever been loved and devoted? If you become enlightened, you will become a Bhakta. You cannot be any other way. And it's all to do with the arousal of Bhavana. Bhavana, B-H-A-V-A-N-A, Bhavana. You know what is Bhavana? Bhavana is a pranic energy of love, of feeling. It gets aroused in deep states of meditation. And what other yogas are we going to do, Devi?
Karma yoga.
We're going to do Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga, Devi?
The action without expectation. Result. No.
Action without any expectation of reward. As Swami Satchidananda said about Adam in the Garden of Eden, he says, what did God say to Adam? He said, don't take the fruit. And what he meant was, don't take the fruit of your action. It's important for a yoga teacher to know that you can become enlightened through any one of those yogas, by any one of those practices, and you can become enlightened. But to become a yoga teacher, you need to become a ladder collector. Each of these techniques is a ladder that can take you up to God. But a teacher has to be a ladder collector and to know all about all the various paths so that you can teach your students appropriately, because students are different and they need to have different paths. So in order to help another person, you've got to know all the ladders. And if you want to become enlightened itself, I think it's good to know integral yoga. The yoga of Patanjali, Raja Yoga, which includes all of the paths. So, to be a complete yoga teacher, you have to be enlightened yourself. And I think it's really good to be humble. I remember Swami Nishalananda, who was a yogi with Swami Satchidananda. She said, I got them to stand on one leg in the yoga class. And she said, well, all of those yogis who are really good, she said, I want you to take the other leg off the ground. Because one of the things that is not allowed if you become enlightened is pride, hubris, egotism, feeling that you're special in any way. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't love yourself. That doesn't mean that you should know what you can do. You know, if you're any good at anything, you should know, I am good at this, I am good at that, I can do this, I can do that. But the problem is, when you get good at anything, then you tend to take a pride in it. You tend to think, oh, I am the best, I am fantastic, I am great. The problem is that if you're good at one thing, there's another million things that you don't even know about, that you're not good at all, that you've never practiced. You might know 1% of what is necessary, you might be really good at that, but the other 99% you know nothing. And this is humility. It's knowing I am good, but I am not good enough. And that feeling of I am not good enough is the reason why you are here today. Because unless you continue to learn, unless you continue to look into life and say, hey, I do not understand that and it is necessary for me to know it, there is no way you're going to evolve. Evolution comes from knowing that you don't know something and learning about it. This is how we improve. If you are perfect, if you are egotistical, you don't need to know anything. You cannot improve. Pride prevents improvement. Even enlightenment is not enough. Because if you think that enlightenment is the be-all and the end-all of life, then how can you improve?